Alright, it's finally time for the 2024 rankings video. I'm sorry this is technically a day late. I just thought that January 6th was a Tuesday, and it wasn't. Whoopsie daisy. Next time I'll look at my calendar a little bit better. But I wanted it out on January 7th, so that's on me. My bad. Apologies. But we've got all 2024 movies, and much like last year, I put all of them on a spreadsheet, had 8 people participate. They gave me a ranking from 0 to 5 stars, including half stars, and it was a great time. Every movie got its power score, which is what we're ranking the movies based on. Any tiebreakers are determined by either the number of people who have seen the movie, or if that's also a tie, the third and final tiebreaker is the person who had the lowest overall rating for movies of that year, their rating for the movie. So if they rated a movie highly, then others, since they were the lowest rated, that movie takes priority to the top of the list. So, or the bottom of the list, depending on how it went. So let's get right into it. Many of these movies, I was the only one who saw them, so I'll brief through them pretty quickly. But starting off with the dishonorable Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate, this movie just felt so corporate, so sad. There was no creative energy. They unfortunately didn't put a lot of money into the animation. It was just sad to watch. It hurt my soul. It was rough. I'm still sad about it, just having to remember this movie. I kind of wish that Megamind got its true sequel, the sequel it deserved. But it didn't. It's sad. Megamind's a great movie, though. But versus the Doom Syndicate, nope. As you can see, I was the only one who saw it, and I even gave it a 0. So moving on to Unfrosted. This movie is just a chore to get through. It was rough. 2 people saw it on spreadsheet, which means I was, of course, one of them, and we had one other person. That other person clearly gave it a 0.5 because I gave it a 0. But yeah, 0.06 power score rating because 2 people saw it. It was bad. Moving on, 98 Woman of the Hour. I was the only one who saw it. I just thought it was mismarketed. I was more interested in the dating show and how they were going to catch the killer like that. I don't know. I didn't watch the trailer beforehand. I just saw Anna Kendrick, and I'm like, ooh, Anna Kendrick wrote that or directed this too? Okay, I'll watch it. And yeah, I was heavily misguided in what I was expecting. So, hampered experience. Next up, Craven Hunter, which is, I think, the weakest of the Sony movies that came out this year, of the nothing to do with Spider-Man universe. It was bad. It was boring. No one else saw it, so they saved their souls. Another one that I was the only one who saw, Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2. Again, the whole issue with this Crisis on Infinite Earths trilogy is that it was so rushed. It didn't feel like it took the appropriate amount of time to set up the story arc. And they tried to do that in 3 parts, and they just kind of failed miserably multiple times. So, moving on, 95, Omni Loop. As you can see, this one had a 4 out of 8, 0.13 rating. It was just a chore to get through. It wasn't as funny as we were expecting. It wasn't as interesting as we were expecting. It was just sad and so long, and it felt so long. It felt like we were stuck in a loop. At 94, we have Snow White and the Seven Samurai. As you can see, 5 out of 8, 0.19 rating. Also bad. But it's one of those low budget, what can we make movies? So it was bound to happen. It's not even Snow White. That's the issue. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why is it Snow White? It was more like Cinderella. Besides the point, 93, Borderlands. Yeah. 6 out of 8, 0.25. Average, or power score, 0.33. Average. I wish I could watch this movie on mute and de-age every single actor in the movie, because I've never seen a movie more miscast than this one. Except for Jack Black's Claptrap. That was actually pretty good. And the guy who had the mask. I'm going to be honest, I've blocked out Borderlands from my brain because of this movie. I don't remember anything about Borderlands either. And it's a shame, because I did like the games. But yeah, continuing on, number 92, Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. Again, same thing. Just rushed trilogy to close out a universe that deserved better. It just was so rushed. They rushed through so many story arcs. The Crow at 91, 2 out of 8, 0.31 power score. Yeah, it's just boring. It's just worse Deadpool. Simple as that. 90 Damsel, interesting premise, but just bogged down by the Netflix formula. It's unfortunate, but there is a potential timeline where this was a very good movie. My Spy the Eternal City, a lot of fun, but nothing like too interesting. Fairly rewatchable, but like not as charming as the first one, I guess is the thing. 88 Amelia Perez, a movie that I knew nothing about going into it, watched it, and I was like, oh, this is a Spanish-speaking musical from France. And yeah, I saw that this was winning a lot of Golden Globes. Not my personal picks for those wins, but hey, I do have to admit Zoe Saldana was really good in this movie, but that's all I can really admit. Moving on, 87, again, Justice League, Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. This one is only this high because it had Kevin Conroy, and it made me cry because of Kevin Conroy. So, 86, Moana II. It does simultaneously feel like a show that couldn't have been a show, and a show that should have been a movie, but also should have been a show. It's just rough. There's so many characters that are introduced, and we don't get to learn anything about any of them. So I don't like that type of stuff. Okay, moving on. Traces of Love, Evidencias do Amor. Yeah, this was a cute little movie. I really enjoyed this one. I'm gonna be honest. It was cool. It was fun. It was cute. They made an Inception joke. It's awesome, but like no one else saw it. So yeah, moving on. 84. Knox Goes Away. Just interesting premise, honestly. I really enjoyed how it was played. Directed by Michael Keaton as well. Cool movie. Very cool movie. I do recommend if you like Michael Keaton. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. It's just a lot of fun, man. I watched all the Beverly Hills Cop movies for the first time leading up to this, and I had a lot of fun with the franchise, except for the third one. That doesn't exist. But yeah, this one's great. Good fun. The Watchers. As you can see, this one's higher than the rest, even though same power score, because 2 people saw it. And this movie, honestly, cool video game. I can see a cool video game being built off of this story, but not a movie. It needs to be more interactive. It's not interactive enough for a movie. It's too interactive of a story idea for it to be a movie. Rebel Moon, Scargiver, because I didn't want to write down all that trash, part 2, all that. 2 out of 8, 0.5. Slightly better than The Watchers. That's the only compliment I can give it. 80, Lift. Yeah, this was... Kevin Hart's got to stop. Like, I like how he's trying to be more serious, but, like, he shouldn't try to be the badass in an action movie. He should just, like, if he wants more serious roles, he shouldn't try to be the badass in an action movie. He should just do a more serious role, but I don't think he wants that. Venom: The Last Dance, 2 out of 8, 0.75, 3-star average. Yeah. This was my favorite of the Sony movies of the nothing to do with Spider-Man universe. But yeah, it was The Last Dance. It's over now. And then, ironically enough, Madam Web gets immediately above it because it had 7 out of 8 people who have seen it. Now, I gotta admit, I do really enjoy Madam Web just for the pure fact that it is so funny bad. We played a trivia game. I think I've already mentioned this before, but that trivia game was awesome. Really made for a great experience. And yeah. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Madam Web. It's so forgettable. Great Pepsi ad though. Really makes me want to drink a Coke. 77 Despicable Me 4. 2 out of 8. 0.81. 3.25 average. Better than the third one. That's all I can really say. Elevation. Better than expected. Like, I was expecting just stupid action, but it was more like fairly interesting thriller. You can't top that. Really elevated my experience. I gotta stop doing that, but it's so funny. 75 Maxine. This is one that I wish more people had seen. It's fairly interesting. It's a pretty cool murder mystery movie in the world of X, but like not as good as Pearl, because Pearl is suspenseful and creepy as hell, but still pretty cool. Moving on, 74 Kung Fu Panda 4. A really solid movie. Like, also better than 3. It's funny how both Kung Fu Panda 4 and Despicable Me 4 are better than the third one, and brings back villains from all over the franchise for, like, cameos at the end of the movie. Weird coincidence. I guess it happens when they're the same studio, pretty much. Gladiator 2. Not as good as Gladiator 1, but still enjoyable. I was entertained. I did like the performances, especially Denzel's. Moving on, 72, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Pretty fun time. I do love me some Ghostbusters, so you know what the song says, busting makes me feel good, and specifically ghost busting. Don't take that out of context. 71, Conclave. Interesting little political thriller, but I do think it was kind of hampered by a less than dramatic reveal. Like, they built up so much drama, and I guess, like, in the context, it was pretty dramatic, but, like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like that reveal really clicked as well as it should have. I don't know, Conclave was just a little overhyped for me. 70, Big City Greens Spacecation. This movie is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Had some good songs too. One unnecessary song, but it makes sense because every Disney Channel original has one of those. But moving on to Red One, a movie that if it was more colorful, I think more people would have enjoyed it. That is literally my only comment on that movie. It is so dark and grainy for no reason. 68, My Old Ass, a movie that I wish more people had seen, because this movie is so charming and so enjoyable. As you can see, it has a 4.5 average amongst those who have seen it, but since only 2 of us saw it on the spreadsheet, it is so criminally low. That's my rant on My Old Ass. It was great. Very fun. Godzilla New Empire, it beat out My Old Ass because it had more people who saw it, but it's like just average. Godzilla Minus One was too good, and it just ruined my taste for this whole MonsterVerse franchise because it doesn't reach those heights. Heretic, a more interesting movie than I was expecting. It's pretty cool, honestly. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's just fun to experience for the first time. Very philosophical. And then Roadhouse. It's fun, I guess. It's got some stars that I like, but it's nothing too special. The action was okay. Terrifier 3 is a movie that I didn't enjoy, but the other people really enjoyed. They gave it way too high of ratings, and it's just, I wish there was more out of it. That's all I really can say. No one else really saw it, but hey, it doesn't matter. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Whoopsie, my bad. 63, I saw the TV Glow, a movie that I couldn't stand. Justice Smith's mumbling all the time. Like, come on, man, you can open your mouth a little bit more. That is what he sounded like the entire movie, and I got sick of it not even halfway through, and it really hampered my enjoyment of the film. And the story was a little confusing. Yeah, the other people who saw this on the spreadsheet really liked it. I did not, and I'm sorry for it. But 62, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Fun little Christmas movie. That's about it. There's nothing really else to it. Smile 2. Better than the first one, and a lot of people seem to agree. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they would do in Smile 3, because we all know that that's most likely going to happen. 60, The Duel, a movie that is a comedy drama, but only the comedy part works. And I think my favorite part is that they go to Mexico, but all the Mexico scenes I think were filmed in Indiana. It's so dumb, that part, but it's so funny. Sorry, I just had to laugh at the fact that they filmed Mexico and Indiana. Alright, moving on. This Weekend in Taipei. A very fun little movie. It feels like a little Fast and Furious movie, although upon my rewatch of it, there's not as much action as I remember, but hey, that cinema scene is so good. Moving on, Love Lies Bleeding. It's a weird movie. Not at all what I was expecting, but hey, it scored pretty well with the others, so gotta give it points there. And then we have Immaculate, a movie that I did really enjoy near the end. I thought it was pretty well made. Religious horror. This was a good year for religious horror movies. A lot of them were pretty solid. If at 56, fun little movie. I'm willing to rewatch this again soon because it's just enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. Fun little time. And then we have The Bike Riders, a movie that I really did not like. And I had another friend did not like it. So half of the people did not like the movie and the other half did like the movie. This is where the fun part of the spreadsheet comes in. These movies that are very divided. It comes in at a 55, just barely missing out on the top half. Number 54, Carryon, which was pretty well received. As you can see, it had a 4.0 average amongst those who have seen it. And I kid you not, it literally does translate to the fact that it did just score perfect 4s on everyone's ratings who had seen it. I wish more people had seen this. It's a pretty fun little thriller. It's got Taron Egerton running, and it's pretty cool. 53, Wolves. Same deal with just like the Carryon movie. Same thing. Wolves, really well received by the people who had seen it, and this time it was seen by 3 people, so it was better received than on average. Pretty good. A lot of fun. I would have seen a sequel, but I already know that John Watts canceled it for reasons that I do salute. Moving on, Juror number 2. Solid movie. I do really enjoy this courtroom drama thing that they built up in this movie. Very, very solid. Yeah. So sad it didn't get more awards nominations at the Golden Globes, actually, now that I think about it. But moving on, 51, Anora. This movie is a movie that I wish I had rewatched before making this rankings, but I just didn't have time. It was great from what I remembered, but I don't remember much of it because of, if I'm correct, it's number 50. Yep, we live in time. I watched this movie before Anora. It only gets ahead of Anora due to the fact that 4 people have seen it. This movie broke me for reasons that I will not explain here, but it broke me and I hate it for it. And one of the other people on the spreadsheet also gave it a poor rating because of me, so that made me happy. The other 2 people loved it for no real reason. The only interesting part about it is the fact that it isn't told linearly, and other than that, that's the only reason I gave it a pretty decent score, because I appreciated what they tried to do, film cinematic wise. 49, Trap. Again, a great first half of a movie with a pretty bad second half and a even worse ending. 48, The Killer's Game. Quite a fun movie, honestly. Sometimes you just gotta turn brain off and have fun. It was the best Paramount or Lionsgate movie that they had released in that month of Lionsgate releases. But granted, when you're going up against The Crow and Borderlands, it's really not that hard. Next up, Monster Summer, another way better than expected movie. Those of us who watched it were surprised by it. We had a good time with it, and that's all that really matters with a movie that you weren't expecting much out of. Next up, Blink Twice, a movie that was pretty good. Interesting themes and twists and stuff. Yeah, not meant, as you can see, only 4 out of 8 seen. So moving on, Ricky Stenicki, the complete opposite of Blink Twice, if you will. 5 out of 8. It was all right. Probably won't rewatch it anytime soon. Just not a very rewatchable comedy. It's not that funny, and also Zac Efron's face is just so scary in this movie. The Garfield movie, again, decent, but there's better Garfield media than this movie. That's the only issue. 43, Murderitaville, 4 out of 8. 2 of us had a brain when rating this movie. The other 2 just said, it's not awful. It's interesting. It's funny. It's fun. But, it's not as perfect as the other 2 say it is. But, the other 2 are crazy, and they have the highest ranking, the ratings average for the year. So, it's because they gave everything 5s, pretty much. Moving up, Musica. I've talked about how much I love this little movie. It's so cute. It's got great soundtrack. It's awesome. I loved it. It's cute. Not many people have seen it. I wish more people had watched this movie. I'm very sad that only three others had seen it. But moving on, Self-Reliance. It's a pretty good movie, but I still think Musica, like a lot of them are better, but like it didn't score as high as this one. But this one's still a lot of fun. I did enjoy Jake Johnson's writing, directing, and starring role in this. Great movie, actually. Fun watch. Moving on, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Part 2. You already know what it is, and you know I will be watching this entire cinematic universe play out. This, like I said last year, first review on the channel was Winnie the Pooh and Blood and Honey 1. Of course, I was going to cover 2, and of course I'm covering the rest of the cinematic Poohniverse franchise. Only 4 of us had seen it. Makes sense. It was the same people who saw last year saw it this year, and we're going to keep watching them. Moving on, 39, the 4:30 movie, a movie that I think I would have enjoyed more if I hadn't watched it with my friends, who every 3 minutes were like, Bruno, is that you? Bruno, is that you? Guys, it was based on Kevin Smith's life, not mine. And they were all like, man, Bruno, if you were in the 80s, this would be you. And I'm like, guys, you can stop that now. I'm okay. And next up, Hitman, a movie that I wish more people had seen because this one is so much fun. Glenn Powell deserves his praise. He was absolutely phenomenal in this movie, and this is a movie that made me go, oh yeah, I'm watching anything Glenn Powell is in now because he's got acting chops, and this movie shows it off. If you haven't seen Hitman, do yourself a favor and go see Hitman. Next up, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It's the best Sonic movie of the trilogy so far. We already know there's going to be a 4th one. It's without a shadow of doubt in my mouth. Shadow. Pun unintended, but I've snapped at every pun I've made. Yeah, pretty solid, as you can see. Pretty well rated amongst the 4 of us. Next up, Bad Boys, Ride or Die. My favorite of the Bad Boys movies, and a lot of people agree that it is the best of the Bad Boys movies. But yeah, Bad Boys has been getting better, except for 2, which was just way too long. It was the only issue with 2. Other than that, they're all pretty solid. Really solid. Next up, The Substance, a movie that really, really breaks everything when you look at it. It's got a 2.83 power score, yet a 2.13 average. I actually don't know how that happened. I think that those numbers might be wrong, but it doesn't matter because it did end up on this spot on the chart on the list. Let me just see real quick. Yeah, I mixed up the numbers, my bad. It had a 2.83 average, 2.13 power score. But yeah, The Substance, weirdest movie I've ever seen. And my favorite part is we had both extremes. We had a 0 and a 5-star rating for this movie. But yeah, moving on. Thelma, pretty fun, better than expected. My friends were expecting John Wick, but 90-year-old grandma. It wasn't that, and it was still pretty solid. It was fun. It was a lot more heartwarming than we were expecting, which was nice. 33, Bob Marley, One Love. Just weird biopic. Just very weird idea for a biopic, but it was pretty enjoyable. Next up, Kinds of Kindness. As you can see, another one that is not super well regarded, but since so many people saw it, I thought it was okay. My friends didn't like it. They liked certain parts, and certain parts were very, 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 very weird, but just not as good as Poor Things. Moving on, Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. This movie was great. It was awesome. So much fun. I loved it. I wish everyone on the spreadsheet had seen it. It's my only issue. But like other than that, it was really good, really solid. Next up, Long Legs. Again, another one of those movies where I really enjoyed 3/4 of it, and then I didn't really like that ending. That ending was real bad. But moving on to the top 30, 29 is Megalopolis, which, as you can see, is the most rating skewed movie. It somehow ends up at a 3.0 average, which I think is the funniest part, because 7 ratings and a 3 average is crazy to me. Because there were some highs and there were some lows, and no one really knew what to think of this movie. But one thing is for sure, no movie will ever outmovie this movie. This movie definitely movies the hardest of any movie I've ever seen. Whoops. Next up, Civil War. Pretty well received amongst those who had seen it. It's a solid movie. Better than I was expecting, for sure. It wasn't generic action. It was very, it was about the reporting side of things, and that's cool. Next up, Boy Kills World. Solid, fun action movie that I actually did like more on rewatch. It's a fever dream, for sure. It's awesome. Abigail is up next. It's just so much fun. It's so much dumb fun, honestly. The only reason to like Abigail is because of how much dumb fun it is. It's just, it's funny, it's stupid. That's what I like about it. Next up, Argyle. It's a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the spy thriller of it all, although it did get a 0. Just had to point that out. But it comes in at 25 on our rankings today. 24 is Twisters. A fun little movie. Definitely better than the predecessor. It's more interesting. Simple as that. And more destructive. You can thank the budget for that one. 23 is Monkey Man. A movie that a lot of my friends really liked, but I was like, it's okay. It's not that good, guys. Like, it's all right. A little dark at points. Doesn't make sense. Just okay. 22 is Alien Romulus, which is one of my favorite movies of the year. Only 6 out of 8. Very rating skewed. I just thought it was great, and I really liked the whole timing of it all. It was just well timed. It was well made. Just well made feature. Really enjoyed that. 21 is Inside Out 2, a top 10 of mine, and it did not crack it because there weren't enough people who had seen it. People didn't watch this movie, and they should have, because it's great, and it's always good to be in touch with your emotions. And as we enter the top 20 with number 20, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. This movie's a lot of dumb fun, and it's really enjoyable. And so you should watch it because, God, it's so much fun. When I rewatched it, it was great. It was a great time. 19, Piece by Piece. Great little documentary. And I loved how it was Lego animated. It's just so wholesome and charming. You love to see that type of stuff. 18 is The Book of Clarence. A great little movie. It's only really this high because a lot of people saw it. It's an interesting feature, for sure. A little long, though. Only real issue. 17 is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Solid feature. It could have been just a little more action-y and epic. It just wasn't epic enough, you know? Not as epic as Mad Max Fury Road. Next up is Beetlejuice, which got the tiebreaker win because the person with the lowest overall average for the year for movies gave this one a 5-star, and that bumped it up over Furiosa. But yeah, fun little movie. Not as good as the first one, but still pretty fun. Top 15 now, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Great continuation off of War for the Planet of the Apes, which I did not know how they were going to continue after that, and I really liked how they handled that after War. It's pretty cool. I'm excited to see more Planet of the Apes, honestly. 14 is Wicked. As you can see, really well received by the 6 people who had seen it. It's got a 4.5 average amongst those 6 people, but since 2 people didn't watch it, can't get that high of a rating. But it's really solid, and I do suggest checking it out, especially since the second half of this book, stage play, the second movie will come out this year. So check it out. 13 is Deadpool Wolverine, another pretty well received movie amongst the 6 who had seen it. 3.44 power score. It's a fun time at the theaters, and honestly, what else can you ask for? It's got a great like a prayer sequence. It's awesome. Just great times. Number 12, The Wild Robot. Again, a very well received movie. If it had everyone seen it, it probably would have been higher. It probably would have been in the top 10. And at number 11 is, in my opinion, the second best movie of the year. My third favorite of the year, Nosferatu. This movie is so chilling and so well directed. As you can see, it is actually the second overall on the unadjusted rankings, which means the one that only takes the average of everyone who's seen the movie. It is second overall on that list. So yeah, it is good. It's great. It's chilling. It's awesome. Now let's get into our top 10, where we start off with The Beekeeper. a 7 out of 8, 3.56 power score. As you can see, its actual overall puts it at 33rd. But 7 people saw it, and 7 people enjoyed it. Good fun. My only issue is there's not enough bee puns. I wanted more bee puns. Next up, Drive Away Dolls. A perfect 8 out of 8. The first one on the spreadsheet so far of the 100 movies. This is the first one that we have seen that has a perfect 8 out of 8. So as you can see, 3.63, 3.63. Weird movie. Margaret Qualley really had a year. Number 8 is Mean Girls, who lost the tiebreaker to the number 7 movie, which we'll show here in a bit. I really enjoyed this movie. This movie sat at number 1 for like 3 months for me. Anyway, I think it was the top movie of the spreadsheet for a while as well, but it lost the tiebreaker to Y2K. Fun little movie. I don't think it's better than Mean Girls though, but hey, it lost the tiebreaker, and I'm a fair judge. Again, fun movie. Crazy movie. Enjoyable. Fun that it ends up in the top 10 because it's a 7 out of 8. Next up, Lisa Frankenstein, another perfect 8 out of 8, 4.13 average. This movie's so weird. I love it. It's campy. It's great. Weird that Catherine Newton showed up in a Frankenstein and a vampire movie. All she was missing was a werewolf movie, and she would have hit the monster trifecta, the monster hat trick, if you will. At number 5, we've got Challengers. It broke the tiebreaker. Oh, I don't remember if it broke the tiebreaker or not. But both movies really good. This one had a great score, though. A fantastic score. Oh, it didn't break the tiebreaker because it was already rated ahead of it. Doesn't matter. Besides the point, I got sidetracked. Great score. Great score. It better win best score at the Oscars. Great score. I've listened to the score more than I've watched the movie. Great score. Great soundtrack. Wrong buttons. Whoopsie. Number 4, Dune Part 2. Missing 1 rating, or else it probably would have been number 1. As you can see, it's unadjusted is number 1 because it's got the highest average. Only 2 people did not give this a 5-star who have seen it. Those 2 people don't understand peak. That's all I'm saying. It's a great movie. Very climactic. Very epic in scale and nature. But now these next 3 have perfect 8 of 8s. First up, The Fall Guy. Okay, guys, little secret. This is my favorite movie of the year. Shh. I do think Dune Part 2 is a better movie, but this is my favorite because I did watch this 5 times for a reason. Like, it's so much fun. It's enjoyable. Great soundtrack. Great action. Just a fun time to be had. And honestly, what else can you ask for a movie? And now these next 2 were tied, but there was a tiebreaker, and I'll explain it later. Next up is Transformers 1, a movie that was way better than I expected, and really solid. It's fun how this made it to the top of the rankings. I'm not entirely sure how, but it did. It was great. 8 out of 8. Not a movie you would expect to be at the top of these 2024 rankings, for sure. And at number 1, due to victory by tiebreaker, because the person who gave the lowest average for movies this year gave 2 5-star ratings. One was Beetlejuice, and the other was Saturday Night. Now I gotta say, I did really enjoy this movie. This movie's so much fun. I love the behind the scenes leading up to that first airing of Saturday Night Live. It is great. It is a good time. The cast was impressively made. I do not know how they casted such great younger counterparts to the actors. Like, they all really looked the part and nailed it. But yeah, that is the 2024 ranked based off the spreadsheet. It was a great time at the movies this year. A lot of surprises. And yeah, I've never been more surprised by number 1 and number 2 movie than I was with this year's. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment down below your thoughts on what were your favorite movies of 2024. I would love to hear them, and I would love to discuss. Subscribe if you haven't already. And other than that, I will leave you guys to it.